Welcome to Brizy Reconstructed, websites for beginners. I'm JP saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and hello to you from Stellenbosch over here in South Africa as we are going into winter. Early in the morning, but I'm already on my second cup of coffee with some rusks, so I'm ready for this reconstructed video for Brizy. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to take this hero element or hero block that we have over here. Let's just focus in on that so you can see it a little bit better. Focus. This is what we're going to be doing, filling out this hero section. We have an upper title there, then we have our main heading, upper heading, and then we have a button. And then we're going to turn it into a light version with a border. And after that, we're going to throw on an image with an overlay so you can see how that works. And the whole idea behind reconstruction is to give you an idea of how the builder works, especially the page builder. Get to know all the different little nooks and crannies that you not always see, and just understand how the basic concept of the grid, of the building works within Brizy. If you've never heard of Brizy, hop on over to Brizy. You can follow the link in the description below. I think Brizy has been around now for 3 years. They've done quite a lot. They are one of the younger guys. They used to be the youngest, but we've got a few new guys that came onto the scene last year and this year. And they've made quite an impact because of their very intuitive and user-friendly interface. If you go through it, you will see that there's quite a number of features that come with it. They keep on adding new functionality, dynamic content, WooCommerce Builder, and we hope for a lot of more features to come within Brizy in the next months and year. And one of the things I always point out while we are here, there's a free version, but there's also a pro version with all those extra goodies that I've just mentioned. And if you go to the website, you're going to see that they have a unlimited sites lifetime offer at $299. It seems a bit steep, but this is one of those things that once you buy into it, you will see the price goes up as more features come on. And the longer you wait, the price will just keep going up. There are 58 licenses left, so hop on over. Just check it out if you're interested. Otherwise, sit back, get yourself your cup of coffee, and then let's have a look at how we're going to reconstruct that hero block within Brizy. Let me close out here, and I'm going to keep open Sizzy. And Sizzy is a developer's app that I use just to check for responsive modes within my displays here. And I'll also link that for you in the description below if you're interested in Sizzy. The third one that I will link is the local software that I use. It's by a company that hosts, and they called Flywheel. It used to be called Local by Flywheel. Now it's just called Local. Very, very easy to use. So let's start up the sites and then go into our site. Great. And since the last time I used it, there is actually an update here. So let's quickly update it. And while it is updating, a few words on the reconstruction series. Again, like I said, I'm not going to show you all the features and how you install it and those kind of things. And I'm also not going to show you how WordPress works. So if you are interested to understand where you get your themes from, what are themes, what are builders, how do you set it up, how do you bring in plugins, I think we've got a number of tutorials on the site for that. So go check them out. Great bananas. Let's go to our pages, create a new page, add new. And we're going to call this one Demo 01 and then publish, and it's asking me to verify that. I'm going to deselect that because I don't want to say that all the time, and then just click up here, edit with Brizy. Oh, didn't save, update again. Okay, I'm a little too hasty this morning for my own good. And those are the spinning wheels of Brizy. Good. I love it. It's a very, very clean interface. And you're going to immediately get the feel that when you use Brizy, it is quite different in terms of its UI and UX, which is the experience to, I would say, almost each and every other page builder and site builder out there. We have here our canvas. This is our page area, and all the building is going to happen over here. The part that you'll go to mostly from here is the sidebar on the left. There's a number of features here, especially the elements, which we will be looking at very soon. And then this toolbar here in the bottom right-hand corner where you can do things like save, update, etc. The most important thing to get your head around while working within Brizy, most other builders have a dedicated panel on the left, on the right, wherever, in which you make all the adjustments and settings. You'll have a big panel here, you make all the adjustments, or on the right. But within Brizy, it is done on the page. I really, really love that so much about Brizy. And that's all I can say at this moment, because there's nothing more to explore here, but then just to dive into it. Start building your page, and this is the big Q. This is where we have to start, and you click on it, and this dialog box opens with a number of things in it. You have these pre-made blocks, then you have layouts, you've got save blocks, global blocks. This is reconstruction, so we don't care about any of these things. We're going to create everything from scratch, so we click here on create your own. Create my own what? And this is what Brizy is all about. It's about a block. As I click, this area comes in here. You can see the dotted line. This is a block, and you cannot build anything with a block. You need a block. It's your building basics. In other builders, it's called a section. Here it's a block, more or less a section. This dotted line, this border here, indicates where your content will be going. And then up here, you will see this little icon. This is where you're going to get all the settings for the block. And there's a number of things here, but I think what I want to do first is change the color of this block. So let's do that again. To deselect anything or get out of it, you just click here on the canvas. You will see it closes up. Hover over it, go to your settings, and then all the way over here. And you will see there are those little tips that pop up as you hover over things. Colors, this is what we want to do, and we click on that. And this gives us the color editor. We want to apply a background, and in the block, a background is called an overlay, and we want to apply a background color. There are a few ways you can do it here. You can select here within this one, where the selector is, and then this color slider here, which is a hue slider. You can also go through that. And then you see we have presets down here, which are things that you can set up in advance, but we're going to be working with a color that I usually use for this tutorial, a gray, which is 36, 36, 36. So just select it over here, type in 36, 36, 36, and it gives me this gray. And all I can do now is click outside. It closes that little toolbar, and I'm back to my page. Bring in the content. And to bring in the content, you can do one of two things. If there's nothing, you're going to see this big plus in the middle. As I click on it, the elements panel open here on the left, right? Or you can just simply go up here to where you see the plus in the sidebar on the left at the top, where it says add elements, and click on it, and it will open that drawer again. Let's see what we've got here, and note I'm using the pro version of Brizy for this tutorial. So there are a number of elements here, many, 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 many. And if you are using the free version, these will be fewer. Also, if you have installed WordPress, you're going to, not WordPress, if you've installed WooCommerce, you're going to see a few more. And if you work on setting up templates, you will also see different elements as they appear here. So you can go through these elements. The ones you're going to use the most are usually here at the top, your text element. There's a button, icon, an image, and one I also use a lot is a spacer. We want to bring in that upper heading first, and as I click on it, nothing happens. To bring in content from the elements panel, you need to click drag like so, and then you need to drop it. And then you see it brings in a text element here within the block. Let me click outside so you can see. To interact with this text element, you simply click on it. And once you click on it, the toolbar options for the element opens. And you will see there is some placeholder text in here, and you can now begin to work with it. So the first thing we're going to do is just change the text. I'm going to select everything, and I triple click usually when I select. You can also use Command A to select. And then, or if you just want to do the old-fashioned way, click and drag to select everything. Intuitive. Then I'll type in capitals, lorem ipsum. Now, this is one part where I think Brizy still needs some work in their text editor. there are no special functions like capitalize and those features that we see. So whenever you want to type something in capitals or you want to have it in uppercase, you actually have to type it in yourself or bring it in uppercase before you do that. Take note of that. Let's center align it. Over here is the alignment. Now it's currently to the left. Click, then it's in the middle. Click again to the right, and you can cycle through it like so. We'll put it again to the middle. There's also a justify option there, which I always say, do not touch the justify at all. Next, let's change the color so we can see it better, and you already recognize the colors over here. Same like before, you can either type in white there, or you can grab the selector and drag it to white. Or alternatively, here is already a white swatch. So if I click on it, I know it's white because it says here in the hex code FFF, which is the color name for white. And there we go. So it's white now. Next, let's go and change the topography, the font. And the T over here is for topography, or text in that case. And over here on the left, you have fonts, and then all the styling that you can do to the font over here. Important to note that Brizy comes with a set of fonts loaded for you. And you may go through here and say, the font I want to use isn't here. We're going to be using Poppins, which is a free font from Google Fonts. So why is it not here? Because it's not all loaded. You have the control over bringing in what you want, and what you don't want, you can remove. Now, in this case, let's just show you how it works. I'm going to put it here on Montserrat. You can see it changes. Straight Lotto, Playfair Display, etc. But like I said, the one I want to use is Poppins. And to do that, click on Add New Font. And then you have the option to upload, which is a pro feature. And then Google Fonts, which is also in the free version. Select Google Fonts. And then you should know the font name over here. It's Poppins. Poppins, baby. Click on Poppins. And then continue. It's going to think a little bit. And you have successfully connected the form with Google Fonts. You have successfully connected, right? Should be connected. You have successfully. I think I did pass English in high school. Done. There we go. Now, still nothing has changed here. Click again on the text element. Go to T for topography, and Poppins appears up here at the top. And you can click on it, and it changes it to Poppins. Very, very nice. Over here on size, let's move it up to 20. Alternatively, you can just select it and type in the 20, like so. And the weight, let's put it on medium. This time I'm going to put it on medium. And line height. Now, line height, you see, if you see these little dots here, and you see the space between the dots and the text, that is what line height is all about. Line height is very important when you have sentences that run under each other, like in a paragraph. My way of working is that whenever I use a heading that's one-liner, I remove the line height. It just gives me a very good understanding of how much spacing I'm applying. But this is for each their own. And really, this is not a must-do or a golden rule. This is just a personal preference. And just to show you the line height here, if I increase it, you will see the space increase. Gives you a very good idea of what line height is all about. My way, I'm going to put it on a 1, and I remove all the line height. And then I'll add a little bit of letter spacing up to 2 for this lorem ipsum. Absolutely great. And now we've got our text element here. In Brizy, there isn't a dedicated heading element. You will find it in many builders that if you go to the elements, go to add elements, you will find a heading element, and then you will find paragraph or text. The two are separate. But in Brizy, this is one feature. So you use the text for all your headings, all your subtitles, etc. Having said that, let's go back here. Remember, if you want to interact, hover over it, you will see the bounding box. Click on it and it brings up toolbar. We've done everything, but one important feature that you have to take note of is your HTML tags. If you don't know what the HTML tag is, it's sort of like a directory for search engines to tell them what to look for on your page, like what is your page about, and you give the main headings on your page that designation. Now, this is more or less like a subheading, which is not that important. It's like a H3, H4. And if you really don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. You can search a little bit online for that. To assign these HTML tags, you go over to the settings here in the toolbar, and you will see HTML tag appears here. By default, this comes in at paragraph, which for headings is what you do not want. Again, this is a feature I really wish that could be assigned somewhere else so you can apply it just uniformly to each and every heading you bring in. But this is unfortunately something you have to go and do each time manually. We want to put it on something like a H3. So I select H3, and now we've set that up. Remember this step because I forget it all the time. It would have been nice either to put it over here, so when we style it out here, we don't forget, or even to put it within the styling options, which is a great feature within Brizy. We're not going to tackle that today. Right, so we've made this upper heading. Now we're going to bring in our main heading for the page. To do that, we bring in another text element under this one. Go back to add elements, click on that, grab the text element. Remember, you have to click and drag. And to place it under it, you will see as I drag it over the block, I have these two thick gray lines that appear. This shows me where I can drop this element. If I move it here, it gets brighter, or here, it gets brighter. And this tells me one of these two places, this is where it can go and nowhere else. The heading I want below it, so I'll bring it here and I'll drop it, and it brings in the same text element like before. Click on it to interact with it. I'll bring in my text first, and I'll just use a text generator for that, which is loremipsum.io. Let's do that. And I like to use this one because it has a generate feature, which makes it just interesting not to use the same lorem boring ipsum text over and over. Like I can even remember the first 5 words of lorem ipsum. I'll grab this text line over here, and this is going to be my main heading for this page. Copy that, go back, select everything, triple click, and then Control Command V. And there we go. Now I'm running into a problem, which I mentioned to you at the very beginning, and that is what? I want this in capitals. Let's first put it in white. Go to the color here, select the white swatch. Let's center align it. And now let's talk about that capital feature, uppercase. I can't do that within Brizy. Please bring and give us this feature. It's a long time waiting because a lot of headings, we put it in uppercase. The solution for that is that you either type it manually in your caps lock within your keyboard onto the page, or if you have a lot of text like I have here, I'm going to copy it again, and I'm going to open my Word, Office Word. And then open a new document, paste it, and Control T just to bring in the normal value. Select everything, and then here on your keyboard, I'm going to press Shift F3, and that will cycle through uppercase, lowercase, capitalize. Every time you press Shift F3, it will give you that. That's how I go about this. Yes, a schlep, but it is. Let's go back here, and now we paste it, Control Command V, and there we go. Remove that little bit of space over there. Let's build it out now. We go to T for topography. Poppins is already loaded. Very nice. I don't need to go and select it again, and it appears here at the top. Thank you for making my life easy. And this one for the size, select it, type in 40. And then for the weight, let's go for semi-bold. And I think that's going to be fine. What I want, though, is for this long line to break into 2 lines. I always show this just so that you know. A lot of people make the mistakes by clicking inside the lane and bringing in a manual line break by pressing Enter or Return on your keyboard, like so. This is not a good idea. It makes it very difficult with responsive styling, or when you make changes in the future, things don't work very well and you don't know what's going on. Particularly in Brizy, you shouldn't do this. Brizy treats this as a new paragraph the moment you bring in an enter or return. And in the future, when you make styling options, you will probably apply a new font and you'll think, why is that happening only to this line and not the whole paragraph? So just stay away from enters when it comes to a full line. I'm going to undo that. Go here to the toolbar at the bottom, and you will see undo. On Windows, Control Z. You should know that. On Mac, that's going to be Command Z. I'll click here for my first time. After this, I'm just going to use the shortcut Control Z, Command Z. We're back here. To break this into two lines, I'm going to add padding inside of this element container. Click within the container. Then we go to Settings, and then we select More Settings. And this will open now this panel here on the right. I wanted to talk about this one at the beginning, but it only pops up when you use More Settings. You will see we have control over padding and margins, and under Advanced, a number of features. This is also context sensitive, so if you use different features, different elements, different things will populate here. If you prefer this to be on the left side, you have the option over here, align to the right. Currently, I click on it, it aligns to the left, and I prefer aligns to the right. You can also dock it if you wanted to. Click here on dock. Now it's locked. Just remember, it overlays your page. It doesn't push your page canvas area, shrinks it, it overlays it, so you're not going to see what's happening under this. But there are cases where you may want to lock it. I'm going to keep it unlocked for now. We want to add padding on the left and on the right. And to do that, I will need to delink the sides. Click on this icon and we see top, right, bottom, and left. We have pixels, or you can put it in percentage. And I'm going to throw it into percentage. I like that. So I click here on the percentage and let's give it a value of 30%. And you will see it moves 30% from the right. And we do the same for the left. Put it on percentage, 30%. And now we have way too much because this is quite a long sentence I've made here. Let's reduce it then to 20% on both sides. And that's much better. Now we've dropped it into two lines. That's it. Click outside to close everything. And here, I want to talk again about line spacing. Line spacing is very important for legibility. To read things very well, you need the line spacing. For headings, I don't like this massive amount of line spacing. This is just my personal opinion, so I'm going to reduce it. Click again on the element, T for topography, and then here on line height, I'll reduce this to 1.2. You can see it just looks better as a heading. When you get to paragraphs, though, and full sentences, long sentences, lots of text, then you will want to apply more line height over here. Let's click outside and see how it looks. Very nice. Let's save our work before we continue, which is very important. If you look down here, it says update, which is a glorified word for save. Click on update. And again, I want to give you the shortcut key. You should know it. Come on. Control, Command, S. So I'll hit that on my keyboard and you see this spinning little thing there that it has saved. Now let's preview it, and preview is over here. Please give us a shortcut key for preview. That would be very, very smooth and awesome. And as I click on preview, it opens a new tab in my browser and it loads, and we can see how our hero section looks at this moment. We're doing very well. Right, so let's close this, go back into the builder, and we bring in the button underneath this. To bring in another element, go to the elements and button over here, click drag, and you see again we have those lines that show us where we can drop the button. Button goes here. To interact with the button, select it, and you see the toolbar, but let's change the text first. Simply double click in it to select the word button, and then I'll type in caps. Remember, if it goes in caps, you have to either activate caps lock or you have to go format it somewhere into caps. Let's type in here, view more. And let's see what the button can do now. So we go all the way to the left here, click on button, and we have size, fill, corner, and then we have an icon over here, which is that little arrow. I don't want to use the icon. So we click here to remove the icon. Then we go back to the button. I think in essence, I'm okay with everything that we have here. Let's change the topography as well. Put it on poppins. And size, let's go for 14. For the weight, I'm going to put it on light. Yeah. And we'll leave the rest. Letter spacing, let's reduce it to 2. That's a little bit better. And then jump over to color. Note now, when we are working, with this color editor. Previously, we had worked with the color editor for the block. Remember when we brought in the color here? Let me go show you that very quickly. Go up here to the settings of the block. Over here, overlay, which is colors. And you see we have overlay here in the tab as well as a border. And the border we'll look at later. Now, when we go back to the button, select the color, you will see we have background, text, border, and shadow. Everything that you can change color to is going to appear over here. The second one, very important, are these two little tags on the left. This one here is your normal view, your default state. This is how we see the page when we get onto the page. Below it is hover. So as you hover with the cursor over something, that is going to have the impact on it. Let's then begin with our normal state. This is the background, and I'm going to make it white. So I'll just select white over here. Then click next on text. And we don't have a swatch for that color I'm using. So I'm going to select the hex code 363636. And then, oh, what did I do there? It's 36 there. Yeah, that's right. Next, border. I don't want a border, and I can see there is no border. How do I know that? And that's when this slider, which is the opacity slider, is all the way to 0 here at the bottom, which gives you full transparency. And I don't want shadow. Let's go back and click on background. Now we're going to apply a hover state. Select hover here. And the only thing that I want to change is the background. When people hover over it, you see currently it's this blue. This blue is selected. And it's set here, I think, at around 80% opacity. There we go. This is the current hover state. So what I want to do is I want to change it to white. And you'll see that this opacity slider remains there. So I'm going to be okay with that. But I also changed the text to my 36, 36, 36. Great. Let's see. Click outside. That looks fine. Now, I'm a sharp border kind of guy. So these corners here, I can see there's a slight, small radius applied, which I don't want. Click back on it. Go to the button. And then here where you see corner, it shows sharp, but don't be deceived, Francis. It is not sharp. Click on the 3 dots, which will give you custom, and you will see 2 pixels applied. Grab the slider, drag it to 0, and now I have my nice sharp borders. Excellent. In most other builders, when you add space between 2 elements, I want to bring in space between this heading and the button, so we have a little bit of separation here. You do that with a margin. And you can do that here. But within Brizy, I've become very used to working with the spacer. And I highly recommend you go for the spacer. Once you start using it, you get used to it, you love it. A spacer is an element, so go to the Add Elements on the left, click Add Elements, and you will see the spacer over here. Click and drag, and again, we see those lines where we can drop it. And we want it here between our heading and the button. And I'll drop it. And there is space added. As I hover over it, you will see the dotted lines indicating the spacer. Click on it, and you get the toolbar, plus this little handle. Click and drag on the handle, and you can add more space. What would be nice here is if we had a heads-up display showing us how many pixels you are adding to it. Unfortunately, we don't have it. You can just gauge it with your eye. If you are a pixel-perfect person, like me, then you want to go into the settings, and you will see the height over here. I'm going to put this on 75. Right. Good. There we go. Looks very good. To add a little bit more of space to the top and the bottom, we're going to bring in more padding for the block. Hover with the cursor at the top, and you will see that it gives you this blue bar, and it says 75 pixels. If you do it at the bottom, same thing is going to happen. And this is standard in every new block that you bring in with Brizy. You're going to get the 75 pixels padding applied to the top and the bottom. And to check that, you can go again here to your settings, more settings, and then you will see 75 pixels applied at the top and the bottom. You can also slide it over here or just do it on the page. Let's click back here because I'm going to increase the top to 100. And you can do that on the page by click drag, like so. Bring it to 100. Give me 100, give me 100. There we go. And the bottom, I usually add a little bit more space. So click drag, and we go to 120. So just extra 20 pixels for good measure. There we go. Let's save the work. Control Command S. Click again here on preview. And here we go. Our hero section is perfect. Or is it? Remember, this is where we often get stuck. We do this, we think we did a good job. Even the best of the best makes this mistake. We need to make sure that this thing works for both tablets and mobile devices. And luckily, Brizy gives us that option. So we go back into the builder. Sidebar here on the left, you see this little monitor display. Click on that, and it indicates that we are currently viewing this page in desktop. Click on tablet, and it goes into tablet. And you can click on mobile, and it takes us into mobile. And you can immediately see this is not going to look good on a mobile. On a tablet, it may work. On a desktop, it's perfect. We're very happy with how it looks on a desktop. Let's go to tablet first and see the changes we can make here. Important to understand about the responsiveness within Brizy is the moment you select this mobile, what is this, tablet? The moment you go into tablet, anything that you can change here for your tablet will appear. Those things that you cannot change, you just cannot change. So for example, if I click here on this text heading that we have created, you will see we have far fewer functions than we had if we go to the desktop. You see, we have all of these. And then if we go back to tablet, we click on it, we only have these. And the reason for that is these are the only things that you can change within the tablet display, which is great. It takes out all the clutter, no guesswork for you. You don't have to filter through a lot of things. And you know what you see here are the things that you can change. So for example, let's say this text is now a little bit too big for our taste. So we click here on T for topography, and we bring it down to around 30 pixels, makes it smaller. We still want to add a little bit more padding on the left and the right now. And you can see that the padding that we've added to this in the beginning is now set to 0. The mobile has its own settings. So you have to come in here and change it. And I'm going to delink again the padding here. And now let's put it again on percentage. Let's put it on 15. Oops, that's 165. 15% on both sides. Let's see if that gives us 2 lines. Great. I got that first try. Lucky. Let's see this one up here. I think it's fine. I'm going to maybe just reduce it from medium to normal, just a little bit. And then I think the button is fine. What I will do though is I will increase the padding at the top to 100 again, just to test it. And the one at the bottom, I'll put this one at 100. Give me 100, give me 100, give me 100. And there we go. And of course, you can also go here to the settings and you will find all of that over here. That's our tablet, looks good. And then we go again to the sidebar on the left and select mobile. Here we need to make a number of changes. And I think the first one we'll start with is our main heading. Click on that and we change it to around 20 pixels, much smaller. And we're going to add some padding on the left and the right. Unlink all the sides. And this time I'm just going to give it a pixel value. Let's put in around 25 pixels on both sides. I think that's going to be too much. Nope, that's just fine, 25 pixels. And then we add padding at the top. And I'm going to put this on around 90. And then at the bottom, I'm going to bring this around 150. Let's see, or let's make it 200. We're working, after all, with a mobile display. This lorem ipsum, way too big. So click on it, go to T for topography. I'm going to reduce the size to 14 and my letter spacing, I'm going to decrease it to 1. And the button. Now, here is the thing about buttons. Often when you are working with a mobile, you're trying to make the button also look similar to the rest of the content on that display. But the problem is that you need to make sure that whenever you have something on your mobile device display or tablet that can be clicked, that it is big enough for a big thumb like mine to easily click on it and not also click on something else. That is why search engines like Google will actually penalize you if the button for your mobile is too small or too close to another link. Keep that in mind when you are working with something like this so that you don't have it too small. I will then just click on here because I will make my button text also 14, but I will reduce my line spacing to 1. And I'm going to, let's put this also on normal. Now you see some of these settings, even though I set it up in desktop to normal or something else, it will still say semi-bold in the mobile display because this is standard settings that you have to change. Great. Let's add more space at the top. I'm just going to drag freely now. And let's stick with this. Let's save our work, Control-Command-S. Here comes the very important part. If you've worked with responsive display before, especially for cell phones, you will get a feeling in your gut that the width of this container is just way too big for many of the phones that we have today, like the Galaxy and the iPhone X. Unfortunately, no builder is perfect when it comes to these responsive displays, and that's why I used Brizy, and I showed you Brizy at the very beginning. Now, what I'm going to do, because I'm using a different site here, I'm going to copy this, Control-C, and then go into Brizy, and then paste it, Control-Command-V, and enter it, and it's going to load the site that I'm currently working with, and immediately you are going to see a few things happen. If we look here at our desktop displays, this is a MacBook Air, over here desktop. These guys look fine. Really, we cannot complain about them. Aunt Susie is going to be super satisfied. If we go up here to our tablet, looks fine. And then we notice for these two, which is a Galaxy S9 and iPhone 12 at this moment, that our line breaks into 3 lines. And that is because if you look up here, the Galaxy S9 runs at 360 pixels across. To fix this, you will have to reduce the size of your text, come up with something, because this one here in Brizy is just way too big. So if I grab it, let's go in here, and I put it down to, let's say, 16, update, go back to Brizy, and reload it. We're probably going to have success on the iPhone 12, and also even on the Galaxy S9. It looks super squashed at this moment. In this event, I would say you go for 3 lines or you go for fewer text. Actually, it's too much text. But I just think this doesn't look very appealing. So I'm going to do what I usually don't do and go for 3 lines. So it was at 20 and I'm going to increase it into, 23, 24. Shall we go for 24? We shall. And let's go and update that. Give us 3 lines. Goes into 4 on the S9. So let's then go for 22. Click on it, 22. Taylor Swift will be happy. Is it 22? That's 22, right? And then reload this one. And all Galaxy S9 owners in the world rejoice it fits in on 3 lines. What I want to stress here, though, again, you saw me when I was working here with this design for the mobile. I added a lot of padding at the top and the bottom. If I do this, and I design it like I would for a desktop, and I think, ooh, super cool hero image, let me just deselect that, and I save it, this is how it then will display on a cell phone. It's going to just fill a small little part here at the top. In most cases, it can work. But if it's your landing page and you have this hero image at the top and a hero section, a hero block, you really actually want it to fill the screen. We'll look later at full height and auto height for that, if you want to fill the screen. But just remember, when it comes to cell phone devices, add a little bit more spacing at the top and bottom if you don't have a lot of content, just to make it stretch a little bit across the screen. So I'll bring that back. Maybe this is too much. Update it one more time. And let's refresh. Super duper. Yep, looks better. Let me just see here. Okay. Like I said, a little too big, but we're going to stick to that. This is very nice. We've got everything good. It looks good on our desktop. It plays well on the tablet, and it looks good on our mobile devices. Now we're going to do a little bit extra. We're back in Brizy. Go to the site and select desktop. I'm going to just save my work again, Control Command S, because I'm a little bit crazy on that. And now we are going to duplicate this block and then make a light version with a border of it. Duplication is super easy. Hover over the block, go to the settings up here in the top right, and you will see this little duplicate function over here. Click on it, and it's going to give us a second one under it. Now, we want to separate it a little bit so we can see what's going on. And what I'm going to do is just add another block between these two. And you can see as I move with the cursor between the two of them, this plus here in the middle appears. If I click on it, we get this library dialog box that we saw at the very beginning. And I'll just click on Create Your Own. This will give me empty blocks. So we've got 3 blocks at this moment, 1, 2, and 3. And this one is only to give me some white space between the two so we don't get confused. Scroll down. And the first thing I will do is change the color of the text here. Click on it. And this is 3636. And I'll definitely show you in the future how to set up those swatches. Today, we just want to get used to it. Again, 3636, and they disappear. Now we change the background to white. Go up here to the block settings, colors, and select the white over here, and we get it white. We're going to add a border, so select up here while this color editor is open on border, and size is down here. 25 pixels. Click in there and type in 25 pixels, and it grabs a color. We're going to make this 36, 36, 36. And there we go. We've added a nice border to it. We're just going to make some changes to this button. Click on the button and I see it's a blue border for overlay. What shall we do here? I think we want to keep this. So let's go to the button settings. And I'm going to use a preset under fill, which is this one, outline. Click on it. And it's an outline now, but we don't see anything because we need to go set up the colors. Click on colors. And then background is white. Yes. Text is our 36, 36. And the border, we're going to put on 36, 36, 36. There we go. Right? As I hover over it, it disappears, which is what we don't want. So let's go back to hover. And what we'll do is we'll add 36, 36, 36 for the background, but we will reduce the opacity over here to around 20%. So if I hover over it now, and it works like it should in a perfect world, which doesn't exist, it's on the border. I screwed that up. So while we're here and I made this boo-boo, you can see that I have now changed the border here and I've made the border fade, which is what I don't want. To remove the border, just go to this opacity slider, drag it all the way to the bottom, and you will see the border is now gone. I don't want to affect the border. I want to affect the background. So let's click on background. Make sure you're still in hover mode. Select 36, 36, 36. And then I'm going to increase it now 20% again. Let's see. There we go. And all is well again. Nice. Okay. One thing though, I like a quicker transition when it comes to a button. You see, if I hover over it, that color comes in quite slowly, and that is the transition speed. What I will do is I will just hasten that up a bit, click on the button, settings, and then from here, advanced, you will see the hover transition. Now, this is a thing I've pointed out to the guys long ago. The idea is when you drag it all the way to the right, that it gives you 1 second. Look, when I hover over it now, it takes almost 1 second for that hover state to occur. However, do you see the problem here? 99 milliseconds isn't 1 second. 1,000 milliseconds is 1 second. It needs another digit there. So just, guys, it's not 2 digits, it's 3 digits. I'm going to reduce it. It was at 500 milliseconds. I'm going to bring it down to around here to 200 milliseconds. And now you'll see when I hover over it, it is much quicker, more rapid. And I prefer it like that, especially with a button. Right, so that's it. And that's it. That's really it. And because we've styled out everything in terms of our mobile and tablet displays, If I save this, Control Command S, hop back to Sissy, I reload this, everything should look good. But do remember, on these displays, let me click on them and move down, because we've added that 50 pixels, you are squashing it now into more lines. So now we've got 5 lines here, we've got 4 here, and we should go and change the buttons as well for that. So, yep, that's how Brizy works. Let's go into our tablet and see how our tablet looks. Tablet says it's fine. And then we go into mobile. Mobile says it's fine. Good. That one is wrapped up. Let's do one more. So what I'll do now is I'll go back to this block. Let me just do that one. I made a mistake. Go to the settings again and duplicate it. How do I get this second block now all the way here to the bottom? And to do that, we're going to reorder the blocks. That is done here in the sidebar on the left. Go to the left, and this second icon from the top says reorder blocks. Click, and it generates thumbnails of all the blocks you currently have. You can see this is the one up here that we created. This is the one we've just duplicated. This is the empty block, and this is our light version. To bring this one to the bottom, simply click, hold and drag it, and drop it here at the bottom. Very nicely done. Go back to the page. And again, we want to add space between these two. We do it again like before. Click here on the plus in the middle, create your own, and we have this extra space now at the top. This is the one we'll be working with, and we're simply going to switch out the background to an image. Go to the block settings, click, and then where you see colors, you go next to colors, click on background, and then we have the option here for an image, a video, or even a map as a background. Stick to the image, and then you click on this one, and it opens up the media library within WordPress. I've already brought in this image. You can bring in your own, click on that, and then select, and it drops in. What's going on here? I'm just pretending like I don't know what's going on here, but this is how Brizy works. When you bring in an image and you've already applied a background, Brizy is going to reduce the opacity of the background and apply it as an overlay. Remember, over here, under colors, it doesn't say background at the top, it says actually overlay. And the color, if there's no image, is a background, but if there's an image, it's an overlay. And you achieve the overlay effect by simply reducing the opacity slider here. All the way to 0, no overlay. All the way to the top, it's a full solid background. Let's reduce it and just quickly study what we've got here. We need contrast when we are working with any kind of hero or any kind of text. And contrast means light against dark or dark against light. It works very well for this area of the image where everything is nice and dark. It pops out right in front of you. But like this lorem ipsum up here, even the button gets a little bit lost in the face. To address this, it's a good idea to add an overlay. I'm going to use the 36, 36, 36, or I can go for black. And then I'll just grab it over here and I'll increase it just ever so slightly. You can go all the way up here, and this is very common. But the moment you think it can be red, let's go around here, 40%, it's good enough. If it's a long paragraph text, you definitely need to make it darker in the background. But in this case, we're working with headings, so more than enough. Let's update this, and let's go preview it on the front. And let's see how it looks then in terms of our desktop. There's our light version. And there is our background version. Let's also just add your space at the bottom so it's easier. Go back to the builder, add a new block, create your own block, and we have some white space at the bottom, and update that. Okay. Before we continue, one thing that I told you, you'll forget because it's not located in a convenient spot and easy to overlook, and that is the HTML tag for this heading. Completely forgot about it. Remember, click on the text. To apply the HTML tag, go to settings and you set it over here. This one I'm going to put on an H2. And of course, if you're going to do it for the rest, of course, you're not going to have the same block on the same page. but this gives you an idea of what you can do here. Let's go again, Ghostbusters to Sizzy. And I'm just going to reload and also clear out the cache here to make sure. Because sometimes things go a little bit hicky here and there when you play too much around with these things. And let's see what we've got here. I'm not sure why this button doesn't display the outline here. Let me just open an incognito here so I can see if that border, if that is a bug, which is bugging me. So I'm going to new in private window and Control V. Let's see. Yeah, that border doesn't appear. And I know why. This is a bug, something Brizy can take notice of. But luckily, my mastermind has unraveled the mystery. I hope. I hope I'm being pompous as over here. Go to the button, click on the button, and then what is important here, I think if I remember correctly, the border, just reduce it and bring it back to 2. Aha. And now you see there's nothing there. And then we go to color again. Let's go to border and let's give it 3636. Let's see if that works. I'm just guessing here. But I think I remember that's what was wrong with it. This button has been the issue. Hey, still no. It shows here. Let me go again and corner. See, the moment I move it, the border disappears. Nothing to do with the icon. Let's go back here. Let me put it on fill. Let me put it back to 2. And then I'm going to say background is white. Text is 3636. Border, I'm going to put on 3636. Okay. And let's just make sure the hover is also 3636. I'll bring in some of that. Update. It's a little annoying, isn't it? Let's see if I can get it to work this time. Nope. It works perfectly when I hover over it, but in the default state, it just doesn't want to play along. So definitely, let's go back to border again. There it is. There is my border. I have 2 pixels for the border. It just doesn't want to play nicely with me. Let me put it on 1 pixel. Major bug here. Now, this is where I know a lot of people will throw their toys out of the cot when it gets to this, and I'm one of those. But at the end of the day, when you have to make it work, you just need to make it work. So if you get into this situation and it's just not working, then I'm going to recommend to you that you just apply a color to the background and get that out of the way. Otherwise, it's going to drive you absolutely crazy. And I'll change it like so. Update. And let's hope that worked, because if that didn't work, I've got really no faith. Keep the faith. There we go. So something clearly wrong with the border button. No idea why. And before we leave, I want to figure that one out. So I'm going to just bring in the button over here again. Button over here. Drop it. And let me just reduce this background. Let's put it on white. Let's put a border there like so. Let's put the text. I just want to see if this is something to do with the button in general, or is it the setting that I have somehow affected at the very beginning? See, there it works. There it works perfectly. So somewhere when you play around with this one. Okay, so what I'm going to do, sorry for the drag around, but I won't be able to sleep. I'm going to bring in another button over here, drag it down there. Then I'm going to quickly type in view more. Let's do it all again, like we did last summer. And then over here, let's see if it works. And what did we say for the topography? We put it on Poppins. It was 14. And we put it on light. And then we reduce this to 2. Okay, so let's go back here. I'm going to reduce the border to 0. That's probably what I shouldn't have done. Let's keep it there. Go to color background white. Text 36, 36, 36. Border. 36, 36, 36. That works. Let's quickly save it and view. I've got many tabs open at this moment. There it's gone again. And then I think it's because I reduced that border. Sorry, one more time. You can skip and end the video now, but I need to figure this one out. So I'm just going to play around with the colors quickly. Background, white, text, 36, 36, 36, and then border. Also going to make that 36, 36, 36. Okay, let's see. Update. And try vertical tabs. Not now. I'm thinking this is something to do with the setting over here. It doesn't have a problem here. So if I'm going to grab this button and I'm going to drag it all the way to the top and drop it in there, take it down, and I'm using my arrow keys to move through it. Update. There it works. What am I doing wrong? Is it because I put it in here from the beginning? Okay, but hey, the bottom line is I kind of solved it, right? I kind of solved it. Let's just click on this button one more time. And then I want to see what happens if I put the hover and the background. I want to put white and the text. Let's just use this. Okay. And the border, let's also use this. Okay. Let's say background a little bit gray. Otherwise, we're not going to see anything. Update. Preview. Okay, that works. So there's a workaround. If you run into this nonsense that I did somehow, I sabotaged myself over there, then you just create it outside. Good. Let's go and delete this. And to delete anything, you simply click on it, and then you press the delete here. You can also right-click and select delete. Right-click, delete. I'm going to keep this button in, and then we update it. To link the button, and this is something I should have done at the very beginning, is as simple as linking can be. Click on the button and you see the link icon over here. And if you have the Pro version, there are a few features in here that you can link to this button. The first one is a URL, which is what we're going to be using. You also have the ability to link this button to another block on your page. If you have the Pro, you can create a pop-up. And you can also have a file here if you want people to download it. I'm going to work with the URL, so we're going to bring in that one for lorem ipsum, which is loremipsum.io. Open in new tab, yes. And then let's save it. Let's go view it on the front. And I'm just going to close out all of these guys before we get lost in the sea of tabs. And click on view more. It opens the new tab with my lorem ipsum.io. Great. Let's close these two and let me show you the block link. So click again on it, click on the link, and now you select block. And it's going to generate these thumbnails for the blocks that we've created. And you remember we also saw that in the reorder block function. This is a super easy, convenient function within Brizy. All I need to do is, if I want to link this button to any of the blocks, I simply select a block. So this one here, click on it once, and you will see the blue frame. That shows you that it's been selected. And then click outside, update, preview. And now, when I click on view more, it scrolls down to this block. Super cool. And that's Brizy. This is our first Brizy Reconstructed 01 from me, JP then. Sorry you had to sit through that little button issue over there, but I hope you skipped it if it was too boring. In the next one, we'll tackle some more of Brizy. Have a good weekend, have a good week, and stay safe. Until next time then, bye-bye.